You walk through the front door after a mentally exhausting workday. Your keys hit the entrance bowl with a metallic clink. Normally, this exact auditory trigger launches a chaotic reception in the house. The sound of claws sliding across the hardwood floor, the rapid panting, the frantic jumping of a dog, acting as if you have been missing on another continent for a decade. But today, the structural atmosphere of your home is dense and entirely silent. You walk cautiously into the living room and find your dog sitting rigidly in the corner. Their head is bowed in geometric submission, almost touching their own front paws. Their eyes dart nervously upward in your direction, revealing the stark white crescent on the sides. Clinical behaviorists call this the whale eye. Their tail is tucked so tightly between their hind legs that it practically disappears against their abdominal muscles. You do a methodical visual sweep of the room and the hallway. No shredded shoe on the central rug. The kitchen trash can is perfectly intact. No accident on the clean floor. They have committed 0 transgressions. No pack rule was broken today. And yet, their body language is identical to someone who just committed a devastating crime. They possess the appearance of a creature who feels they let you down on a profound level. The overwhelming majority of people look at this heartbreaking posture and immediately assume it is pure guilt. See, you might think your dog is activating the memory of a mistake they made yesterday. Perhaps you assume they are anticipating the discovery of some mischief hidden beneath the sofa. We project our own complex human emotions onto them with disturbing ease. We assume they possess a rigorous internal moral compass that is currently tormenting them. But here's the problem with that logic. Human guilt requires a highly evolved prefrontal cortex capable of abstract temporal projection. It requires the cognitive ability to evaluate a past action against an invisible moral framework and feel shame about the discrepancy. Your dog lives in a permanent, immediate present. If they have not broken a physical rule in the last 60 seconds, there's no crime for them to process. So if it is not a confession of guilt, what exactly is happening inside their nervous system? A landmark behavioral study conducted at Barnard College by cognitive scientist Dr. Alexandra Horowitz dismantled the guilt myth. Researchers designed an environment where dogs were explicitly told not to eat a forbidden treat. The scientists then manipulated the variables. Some dogs ate the treat, some dogs obeyed and left it alone. But the crucial metric was the human reaction. Owners were brought back into the room and told to scold the dog, regardless of what the animal actually did. The results were statistically staggering. The display of the so-called guilty look had 0 correlation with the dog's actual obedience. Innocent dogs who were scolded displayed the exact same intense submissive behaviors as the guilty ones. The study proved that dogs rely on associative learning rather than moral understanding. They associate your stiff posture and narrowed eyes with impending negative stimuli, bypassing any logical evaluation of their own previous actions. They are not confessing to a crime. They are reading your face. They are scanning your facial micro-expressions, your respiratory rate, the tension in your jawline. This brings us to the 5 core signs of perceived disappointment: the whale eye, the rapid lip licking, the pinned ears, the lowered cranial posture, the avoidance of direct ocular contact. These are not signs of a guilty conscience. They are pacification protocols. They are telling you, you are the most powerful force in their universe. But here is where it gets interesting, because this is not just psychology, it is chemistry. When you arrive home carrying the invisible weight of financial stress, interpersonal conflict, or sheer exhaustion, your endocrine system is compromised. Your adrenal glands pump cortisol and adrenaline into your bloodstream. You are physically radiating tension through your pores. Your dog possesses an olfactory bulb that devotes 40 times more brain volume to analyzing smells than yours does. They detect your chemical shift instantly. Their amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, lights up immediately. This registers as a critical instability in the pack dynamic. Their brain responds by spiking their own cortisol levels. Your silent, invisible stress literally becomes their physiological stress. A causes B. B reinforces A. This neurohormonal loop is involuntary. The dog cannot simply choose to stop feeling anxious when your cortisol levels saturate the enclosed environment of your living room. To survive this chemical spike, their brain commands their body to execute appeasement behaviors. The lip licking, the tucked tail, designed to visually lower their threat profile. They are trying to defuse a bomb that exists entirely inside your bloodstream. This mechanism goes much deeper than the living room. It was selected by the brutal forces of evolution. We have to rewind the clock 15,000 years to the Pleistocene epoch. In the wild, ancestral wolf packs depended on absolute social harmony to survive freezing temperatures and coordinate lethal hunts. Internal conflict within the pack was a death sentence. If the alpha member returned to the den, radiating tension or aggression, subordinate members had to immediately de-escalate the ambient energy. They developed a precise physical vocabulary of submission to prevent fatal alterations. Your modern dog carries this exact ancient genetic programming woven into their chromosomes. When they drop their head and tuck their tail because you had a bad day at the office, they are tapping into a survival mechanism forged in the Ice Age. They are attempting to restore equilibrium to the only pack they will ever know. This leads us to a fascinating biological paradox. You would logically assume that a dog displaying such intense fear and appeasement behaviors has a weak or damaged relationship with their human. But a recent cognitive evaluation revealed the exact opposite. Dogs who display the most rapid and intense pacification behaviors are statistically the ones with the most secure, deeply rooted attachments to their owners. It sounds impossible. Why would a secure dog look so terrified? Because a dog with no bond will simply flee or react with defensive aggression when faced with an unpredictable human. The dog that stays in the room, making themselves small, exposing their vulnerable neck, is demonstrating ultimate trust. I'm staying because I believe you will not hurt me. They remain in the danger zone because they believe the bond can be repaired. Their apparent fear is actually proof of their profound devotion. There's one last thing I need to tell you. This is the moment where an interesting behavioral quirk transforms into a critical medical emergency. You must observe the environmental context of these 5 signs. If your dog begins pacing, licking their lips, and tucking their tail when you are completely calm and the house is entirely peaceful, something is deeply wrong. A sudden, unprovoked increase in these appeasement behaviors is a primary clinical indicator of hidden pathology. Veterinary neurologists note that older dogs experiencing the onset of osteoarthritis, dental disease, or canine cognitive dysfunction often adopt a permanent defensive posture. Because they feel physically vulnerable to predators, they constantly broadcast submission. According to the American College of Veterinary Behaviorists, pain-induced anxiety is the most frequently misdiagnosed condition in modern domestic dogs. Owners mistake physical agony for a sudden behavioral regression. Up to 70% of senior dogs hide their physical pain behind behavioral changes. Your pet has no spoken language. Their behavior is the only way they can tell you that something is broken inside. That broken, guilty look by the door is not a confession of a past sin. It is an ancient, chemical, and deeply emotional response to your shared reality. It is a biological attempt to heal a fracture in your bond before it even happens. Recognizing this changes everything. The next time you find your dog looking like they failed you, do not look for a chewed shoe. Look at your own energy. Drop to your knees, soften your breathing, and tell them the pack is safe. If you want to master the true science of your animal's mind, subscribe to the channel right now. Tell me in the comments, what is the strangest ritual your dog performs when you are preparing to leave the house? Because next week, we are dissecting the philosophy of the dog who destroys everything when you leave. And trust me, it goes far beyond the mess.